Welcome in, everybody. This is Unscripted. My name is Timothy Lindsay. Aaron McLaughlin is with me, and we've got the Mark Avery from Two Notice. As we talked about when we got this show started, we want to talk about people that have moved out of what they were doing into what they love doing, and poured their passion into their skill set and what they want to be doing with the rest of their life, and have found profitability through it, which got clunky along the way, as I understand Mark will explain for us. And now you have arrived at the point where this is not your part-time job. It's not your side hustle. You're not brewing beer in your garage anymore. Now you're at, people are just like, it looks like he's got big soup pots behind him. He's a cafeteria lady. But anyway, so yeah, Mark,
it's his passion.
If you could explain to us and just bring everybody up to speed, get us from, as I remember it, a humble kid from Lynn, right? all the way to the location of your brewery and now, and just sort of give us the cliff notes, and then we can dive deeper with some questions for you. But welcome and thank you for joining us.
How much time do we have? Just kidding.
Like 2 minutes. Go.
No, thank you for having me. Appreciate it. It's been great. It's good to hook up with you again, Timmy. Great to see you, and nice to meet you.
Nice
Aaron.
to meet you.
Yeah, so humble beginnings. Wow. So yeah, born and raised in Lynn, North Shore. Played music forever. I would say that I'm the black sheep of my family, just because I've always done things a little differently.
Can you say more about that?
Yeah, so pull some of the meat off that bone. The running joke is like, Mark and I know each other from the same past life that Nate and I know each other from radio across the street here in Portsmouth.
Radio.
His nickname at the station was Mark the Narc, because everybody in his family carries a gun and a badge. And
Nice.
He was listening to Metallica playing the yes. So talk about that.
Yeah, so I grew up and not like, my parents were great. I didn't grow up in like a strict house or anything like that. Very straight blue collar. Like my mom worked 2 jobs forever. My dad was, like you said, a police officer. Worked tons of hours in a really rough city of Lynn. Vietnam vet. He's the quintessential tough guy. So I grew up around very hardworking parents, and then I have 2 older brothers who are twin brothers to each other, but are 7 years older than me. And I'm 7 years after them. Not a mistake, right?
You got your ass kicked.
Yeah, needless to say, there's a lot of times my brothers will turn to me and be like, "You're welcome." I'm like, "What?" They're like, "You're welcome for us kicking the shit out of you your whole life. Because that's why you're tough now." I'm like, "Thanks."
We did this to you.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
That's why he has 2 dislocated shoulders. He was a human Stretch Armstrong.
Yeah, like stitches in my head twice when I was a kid. Like they kicked the crap out of me, literally. But yeah, they were. I mean, I'm not gonna say that they were angels, but yeah, they went through their things. But they all stayed in the area of Lynn, and I was always like, I don't know. I always wanted to not live there my whole life. I appreciate Lynn, and I'm honestly glad I grew up there. I'm actually getting Lynn Mass knuckle up on my knuckle.
Love all of that. Yeah.
Because I appreciate it, but
it'll be your first tattoo. Oh no, you've got more. Okay. Yeah.
Couple, 2, 3. But yeah, I don't know. They always knew it. My brothers actually always pushed me to do different stuff, whether it be go to school for radio, anything, play music, all that stuff. So I kind of was always different because they don't do any of that stuff. They never played music. They never did any of that stuff. So I went to school for radio, and they kind of always pushed me to do stuff not like what they were doing. I can respect what they do because they're awesome people and they're great dads and hardworking, just like my parents, So, I was just telling a story about this. Like somebody was like, they were talking about what degrees they have, and I was like, "Oh, I have a degree in radio."
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Here I am in my brewery.
Yeah.
But, so I went.
Good
to school
work
for
out of
radio.
you.
Yeah, I went to school for radio. and I use it all the time, you know, like for this, for instance. But it's just so funny that, you know, you end up where you end up eventually in life. It's just like, I don't know, it's crazy. But I don't know. I don't know where I was going with this, but anyway.
It's okay. We're you're playing in a band. You're getting into radio.
And I don't know. I always like never really wanted to just do the normal thing. It just kind of was always my thing. I don't know where it really stemmed from, whether it was my brothers or my parents or I don't know. But anyway, so I just kind of, I don't know. I kind of always kind of did my own thing. Went to school for radio, and ended up working up in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and that was fun. It was a good time. I learned a lot.
We had to sign paperwork that we'd always only ever say it was a great time.
It was great.
Yeah.
You have a non
just in case Bob Pittman from
disgruntled?
Clear Channel is listening. It was
Yeah.
great.
It was great. It was great. Yeah.
No, honestly, like I always say, like, I don't ever regret my path because here I am, you know, doing what I love, you know. So it's everything. I think is just a learning experience. But yeah, well, that's our phone ringing.
There it is. Somebody's calling it a pizza.
Like, do you have cans? Do you have cans of beer? Yeah, we have cans of beer. But I don't know, man. It's been a wild ride, and I've just. I was reflecting on this when I knew that I was going to be on this. And it's just wild to think, I don't know. And I don't know if everybody goes through this, but depending on how your life pans out, but I've never like, I didn't think I'd be here. If you were to ask me 10 years ago, you know, what do you think you'd be doing? I'm like, I don't know, working at a crappy desk job and paying a mortgage or something. I don't know, you know, which I do now. But I don't know. It's just
the mortgage part you got right.
Yeah, you get the mortgage done. Yeah.
Thank God for my wife. But anyway,
yes. We'll get to her.
Yeah, she's a whole other story. But anyway, yeah, it's just wild to think that where you start and where you end up, you don't really know until you just kind of go along that journey. And figure things out on the fly. I mean, that's really all I did. And then I just so happened to find this thing. I was always into beer. Beer was really cool. And in fact, like, honestly, when I was working up in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, back, I don't know, this is probably 13, 14 years ago, like micro breweries.
Everybody was doing it in their bathroom, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but like up where we lay, like in Portsmouth, there was a Portsmouth brewery. There was Smutty Nose. Like those guys were, you know, so it was cool to be living up there when those things were kind of new. And it kind of opened my eyes to this whole different beer thing. And I just thought it was cool that these guys were starting these new breweries and the beer were different. Oh God, the lights just went out.
Did you pay the mortgage at the brewery?
He's going to get up and flail his arms. That's amazing.
Or the electric bill, I guess.
Yeah.
I hate these goddamn sensors.
Yeah, the sensor lights. They're freaky.
You're saving the environment. You're lowering your carbon footprint, and we
Damn
appreciate
it.
that.
Just walked in. Yeah, they don't last. It's best when I'm like kegging a beer like 10 feet down and it goes off and I can't see anything. It's great.
We now know like every 10 minutes we've got 4 more
every
lights out and the show's over.
Can we set a buzzer every 10 minutes so I can go walk in front of that? Anyway,
You're fine.
But so I don't know, man. I just I thought it was cool, the whole brewing industry, and my bug for it kind of bit me when I was living up in New Hampshire.
Sure.
And it sounds stupid, but I watched a show on the History Channel about the history of beer, and I just thought it was so fascinating. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And you know, a few years later, I ended up moving back up to eastern part of the state of Massachusetts.
Sure.
I moved back in with my parents, guys. Okay.
So back to Lynn.
Back to Lynn.
Lynn, baby.
And by that time, some breweries started opening, and I couldn't really homebrew then because it was a city. You know, there's not a lot of room.
Yeah.
And then I met my wife, and then she knew I really wanted to get into homebrewing. And one Christmas, she bought me my first homebrew kit, and then kind of the rest is history. I started brewing on my back deck, and like 4 years later is when the brewery opened. So
where's Murphy from?
She's from Western Mass, so she's
okay.
from.
That's how you end up down where you are. What town are you
Yep.
guys located in? Your company.
So we're in West Springfield, Massachusetts.
Okay.
Which is home of the Big E, which is
Yes.
not going on this year.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
You ever need a cheeseburger wrapped in a donut dipped in chocolate?
Hell yeah, bro. So yeah, we have a kitchen at the
Sounds
brewery
like
that
a
we're.
stomachache.
Yeah, it's awesome. We have a kitchen here that so right now is when the Big E would be going on. So
Sure.
we're starting to the kitchen's starting to put out like specials that are like crazy. Like
Fried
we have
Oreos.
yeah. So we have a fried Oreo and graham cracker s'more special right now.
As you should.
Yeah, because we just released this graham
Road
cracker
trip.
porter. So
That's a graham cracker porter. Okay.
yeah. So that's brand new this week. So that's why we're kind of doing that. But yeah, so we're in West Springfield, Massachusetts, which reminds me a lot of Lynn. It's like a very blue collar city. Everybody knows everybody, but it's a really large city. It's weird.
Yeah.
Just kind of like townies, which is really cool. And a lot of them are like regulars here in the tap room, which is awesome. Yeah. So my wife is from out this way. And we met in Boston. She was taking photographs of a band before my band.
Oh.
And then I got up and I was
you were the headliner.
I was so handsome she couldn't take it.
So she started taking pictures of you.
Yeah.
Yep. She started being creepy. And no, she'll tell you the story. It's a hilarious story how we first met, but she she took pictures of the band before us. We went on, played, and then I was actually guitar teching for a band called Taproot.
Of course you were.
Yep. Because I was.
It makes sense. It all makes sense.
I celebrate their entire catalog.
Yeah. We played Poem 400 times at WHEB. So yeah, I was guitar teching for them because at that point in my life, I was like working like a crappy job, and I'm like, I'm just gonna go like tour with I'll be a guitar tech for somebody and go tour because I have nothing holding me down, right?
Yeah.
And she was, I met her that night, and she came up and introduced herself, and she said, "Hey, nice set," and I was like, wicked nervous.
Yeah.
She was gorgeous. I was like, oh my god.
And you were wondering if you had a lug cut shirt on. You're like, oh, you mean the music? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's so funny because I'm like guitar teching, and my drummer walks over. She's like, "Hey man, that girl over there's like been staring at you." And I'm like, "I know. I feel like did I spit on her face, or like you're in the set? Did I like kick a bottle into her face? I don't know what's going on." And then she walked over. She's like, "Hey, great set." I'm like, "Oh, thanks, thank you, appreciate it. Thanks a lot, thank you."
I'll sign you, baby. Like, yeah, you got all confused. Yeah.
Yeah, she was just like,
I don't know what to do with my hands.
Oh, yeah, the power of a girl.
And she loves telling that story, but it's absolutely true. And because I was like, oh my god, this girl's gorgeous. But and yeah, so needless to say, we sat there and talked during the Taproot set, and I screwed up the whole like guitar for the guitar player. I got fired that night.
Yes, I was just gonna say.
Excellent.
Yes, perfect. Good for you.
It was like the best worst night of my life because I've literally never been fired from a job except that. And I'm like totally cool with it. I'm like,
if you run even with the new math mark, I feel like you win. Yeah.
I won that one. So so we met and we were engaged after 6 months. She was pregnant with our son 9 months, and then we got married like when he was like a year and a half. So
And I always see it written, and you always put Kai. Is it Kylan or Keelan?
Kylan, yeah, you said
Kylan.
it right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is a traditional Gaelic name, a traditional Irish Gaelic name for little warrior. That's what it means.
And your wife's nickname is Murph, first name Murphy. So yeah.
Megan Murphy.
Yeah.
Not Irish at all.
Yeah. Well, yeah, she goes by Murph Avery online though, so I always think of, Megan Murphy.
She hates her. She hates. I'm the only person who calls her Meg. She's like, everybody calls her Murph.
Murph.
I'm like, the only Murph I knew was a fat dude I played football with. So I can't call you Murph. It's weird.
You're calling me the wrong name.
I mean, I used to like tackling him, but not as much as you. So yeah. Yep.
Touché.
So now you get down there and you're working. The day job is what at that point? Because that's what 2 weeks notice is born out of, right?
Right. So yeah, we were living in Quincy for a while. We like I said, my wife was from out here. She had an opportunity to come out here and work for her mother's company in Springfield. And so when we first moved out here, I was just a stay-at-home dad because my son was 6 months old. So I was just at home doing that. And then once my wife was settled, we were settled. She's like, all right, now you can start looking for a job. And we put Kylan into daycare anyway. So. So we moved out here and like that was, I think, in August of, I want to say 2012 maybe.
Okay.
And so I got this day job at a company called Pioneer Tool Company, which was like an industrial tooling company.
Yep.
Like I sold actually when I started, I worked in the warehouse. Because I just took like an entry level. I'm like, I'll just take whatever.
Right.
So I did an entry level, just warehouse, filling orders, doing all that. And then eventually I went into inside sales. And then we moved, we were in, actually the original office was in West Springfield where we are now. And then we moved to Agawam, which is like the next town over, into like this nice fancy office and like an industrial park. And at that point I was already like homebrewing. And then I was like, all right, well, this, the background of the homebrewing was I was homebrewing at home on my deck. And I was like, man, these beers are starting to turn out pretty good. There was a lot of breweries popping up. I'm like, I think we can start a brewery. This is going to be awesome,
Yeah.
And my wife,
nailing it.
My wife was like, listen, yeah, that's awesome that you're very passionate about this. Like, I've only seen you passionate about music. Otherwise, like, if you really want to do this, like, you got to understand this is going to be the hardest thing you've ever done in your life. I'm like, yeah, no, I got it. And I'm like, it was absolutely.
Sounds like the wedding vows all over again. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So
prepare yourself.
I was already like working towards, like, I knew I wanted to open up a brewery. And then I'm at work one morning. And they're like, hey, everybody come into the front lobby. I'm like, oh, this is cool. What's happening? It's like Monday morning.
Dunder Mifflin, Monday morning.
Yeah, we sold the company. I'm like, what? Like, yeah. Like, nothing's going to change.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I'm like, okay. And that was like, we got bought out by a company.
You're like, I worked at Clear Channel. Everything changes.
Yeah. I'm like,
it's a sign.
Like, everybody's like, no, I think they're right. I don't think anything's going to change. I'm like, guys, get ready.
Have some cake. It's going to be fine.
Your health insurance is going to change. Everything's going to suck. Just to be honest with you.
Just prepare. Yeah.
Yeah, just get ready. And they're all like optimistic. I'm like, no. But so we got bought out by this company called Black Hawk Industrial. And that was like the moment where I was like, okay, now I really need to step this into high gear and get the hell out of it. I'm working in a cube all day. It was a good job. Like, I look back on it because a lot of people I worked with were absolutely awesome people. Yeah. And I love them. And there's like, they've always been huge supporters of this. And they were huge supporters of just me starting a brewery. Like, they knew everything that had gone into it. So, but it was just like super corporate. I was like, this is not for me, but it's a job where I can help pay my bills and get by and everything like that. So, then I was just like, all right, well, that's when I really stepped into high gear. And then I started entering like homebrew contests and winning them.
I'm thinking of that commercial. There's a commercial right now where it shows the husband and wife at their bakery, much like you at your brewery now. And they're sending out like their first order of over 1 million cookies. And they keep reverse engineering the commercial down to the two of them, like sitting, leaning on the table, looking at this blender saying, we don't even bake. Right. So I feel like there's a little bit of the truth in that for you where, the wife gets you this home brew kit, you're doing it. Yeah. You're noticing, well, these flavors are getting better. I think I'm nailing this.
Yeah.
But then you've got to get to, and I don't know how you celebrate this. And I know this happens to people with social media. You've arrived when the first person shits on your beer. When you first get your first thumbs down. Cause you've gone outside of the comforts of your friends, right?
Yeah. So that was the whole point of doing these homebrew contests. Is that it was like, of course, like my dad and my brother are gonna be like, "This is awesome."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Is it? I don't know." Like, I knew if a beer was good or not,
Yeah.
but I would still bottle it or whatever.
Sure.
But then I was like, all right, well, if I'm really gonna test test the waters here and see what the deal is. So I entered a local homebrew contest at a homebrew shop, and I entered 2 beers. And it wasn't even like I stacked the line. Like, I was like, "Oh, my friends, come on and vote for me."
Yeah.
I was like, "I'm gonna go." I don't know. Like, it was just like me and my wife and 2 of my friends. And I bring my bottles and we start pouring. I brought 2 beers. I brought Resignation, which is my IPA that we still serve here, and I brought like a dark beer. I forget what it was. I don't even know, coffee porter or something like that.
Yeah.
And I ended up winning best overall, best IPA, best dark beer.
Wow.
Swept the comp. I'm like, oh crap! Like, holy shit! Like, this is holy. My wife,
real now.
My wife looks at me. She's like, she knew the whole time. And then that was like a competition of like 25 people. Not even, actually, it was probably like 15 people. And then I was there, and another guy was like, "Hey, you should do Worthy Fest. It's this big beer fest." That I'm like, "What is it?" Like, I never heard it because I was like new to the area. Like, "You haven't heard of Worthy Fest?" I'm like, "Nah, I have no fucking clue what that is." Like, kind of pump the brakes. And so Worthy Fest is this big beer fest that they do in downtown Springfield. They shut down Worthington Street, but it's called Worthy.
Yeah.
It's one of the coolest beer fests because they have a tent that's full of commercial breweries. There's like 35 commercial breweries. And then there's another tent full of 20 to 25 home brewers. And when you walk in the door, you get a cup, your sample cup, with 2 wooden tokens. And they're like, from 12 to 2, you walk around the homebrew tent, tasting the beers. If you like the beer, you drop a token in. Yeah. And then we announce like the winner or whatever. Yeah. And the previous 2 winners had gone on to open up breweries. So I'm like, all right, let's do it. Here we go. I show up like everybody's got like keg system, like tap systems, all this fancy shit. I'm like, here's my 2 cases of bottles that I'm gonna crack open and pour.
You get some repurposed milk jugs. You're like, this is gonna be great.
People are like, wow, you don't have CO2 or a draft system? I'm like, nah, I got these homebrew bottles.
This is, am I in the wrong tent?
Yeah. Everybody had a draft system except me. I'm like, whatever. I don't give a shit.
Yep.
And so opens up at noon. We start pouring, and I brought Resignation, which was like my signature IPA. And then day goes on, 2:00 comes, the voting ends, and I'm like standing there with like my parents came. They're like, "Oh, we're gonna come support you, Mark. This is great. Awesome. I love it. I don't really like IPAs, but anyway." So they come, and they come, and we're sitting there, and they count the tokens. And I knew the guy who was like running it. He's like, "Come here." I'm like, "What's up?" And he's like, "So you won." I'm like, "What?"
That's like, amazing. Whoa. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was crazy. And so they bring you up to this place called Theodore's, which is right on Worthington Street, and they announce the winner. And so I won that. But that was the one where I was like, holy shit! Like, 600 people walked. God damn it!
My favorite. Do a couple jumping jacks.
Anyway.
We've got 2, maybe 3 more segments. It's going to be great. Yeah.
600 people walked through that gate, and we got, I don't know. I don't even remember. It was like 120 votes or something like that.
Good for
in
you.
That range. And that was the one where I was like, holy shit, I guess we're putting something decent out where people are going to drink it and not like my best friends or whatever. So that was the point. That was 2014 or 15, I think. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So then from there, so now you're still at the day job. Have you stepped away yet from that? Or you just, it's going horribly wrong? Eventually.
I was still doing it. Yeah, I was still doing the day job. And that was one of the things where it's so funny. Like that was on a Saturday, that beer fest, and you're like celebrating, and and it's Father's Day weekend. It's the Saturday of Father's Day weekend. So I'm going crazy Saturday, hanging out Sunday with my son, and then I go back to like work on Monday. I'm like,
right.
Like, this sucks, so I'm still working the day job, and then at that point, I had a partner and an older partner who is I split with. We just weren't it wasn't gonna work out between me and him. We just never saw eye. And we were gonna actually open up in Westfield.
Oh, okay.
It didn't work out, and he actually opened up his own brewery, and they're good. And we're on like good terms. We talk. We're really good. But that's what we were gonna do. We were gonna be in Westfield, and ended up splitting with him. I then approached my then boss at my day job.
So Michael from Dunder Mifflin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, best boss ever. So I approached him, and he was like a huge craft beer drinker, and and he already knew what I was doing with the brewery and stuff, and he was a huge supporter because Pioneer Tool, before they got bought out, was his dad and his uncle who started it.
All right.
So he knew of starting a company. He was like very much into entrepreneurs and things like that. So, but he obviously sold Pioneer Tool to Blackhawk Industrial. But anyway, when I approached him, it was like, I'm like, hey, I split with so-and-so. It was just, kind of a bad situation or whatever.
Yep.
Something you'd be interested in. He's like, yes.
Oh, wow. All in.
Immediately. Yeah. And then it was, and then we obviously went through the whole, putting together operators agreements, things like that.
Sure.
Finding a space. It took us a while to find the space. This is all while I'm still working my day job.
Sure.
Trying to focus and not get fired from that the whole time.
Yeah, because you're trying to honor your commitment to that company, but you're like, I just want to go out and play, right?
Yeah, I don't actually want to work here, but I gotta work here. So so the whole time I'm doing that, and then eventually we found the spot here in West Springfield, and then oh great, somebody's calling me. Anyway,
that's okay.
Get that decline.
Hi, this is Babs. Do you make a hard seltzer?
Never stops, Timmy. It never stops. But so found this space, and we started. This place used to be a tortellini factory.
I love all of this. Yes.
Yeah, it used to be a tortellini factory. It was Angie's Tortellinis for a long time, and then they moved to Westfield, and then it was like another food processing plant after that, and then it laid dormant for like 4 years, and somebody bought it, and they had like. They were going to try and do a spice factory or something in here for like 2 years. Never worked out. So anyway, went back on the market, and we looked at it. The place was an absolute dump.
I remember the pictures from day one.
It would be like if you came in now, you'd be like, what the hell happened?
Well, last time I was there, you didn't have the tasting room. You guys hadn't added food. You have the patio now.
Yeah.
And food trucks, it's wrestling. The wrestling's the best.
Yeah, it's just wild how the space. So we started. I want to say we closed on the space in April of 2018.
Yep.
We immediately started demo in May.
Yeah.
Of 2018. Demoed all through the summer, and then got the brew room, like the production facility, like actual brew house, up by October of 2018, and I brewed my first batch October 30th. Of 2018, and then day one of can sales was December 1st of 2018. So
how'd that feel? Like, what is that? Like, is
crazy.
That completely surreal? And you banged out. I remember watching online, like you were having back when you were just a little mom and pop shop. You would say, hey, this Saturday we're open from X to Y.
Yeah.
And you were banging out of stuff, right?
Opening week, we had a line. Opening day of can sales, we had a line. So we opened, I think, at noon, and there was a line at 11:30, and then we sold out of 50, 60 cases of beer by 1:30, 2 o'clock. Opening day, it was insane. Yeah. So and then it just kind of continued throughout. There's this thing called line culture in beer,
Sure.
where
Okay.
it's like a thing where people are like, oh, I'm in line, you know, like I'm gonna get this release, you know. So
Yeah,
it just kind
sure.
of started happening with us, and so we started kind of selling out. And as that was going on, we were still building up the tap room, because ultimately that was the end goal, was to have a tap room. We couldn't float this giant building on just can sales.
Sure.
Right.
Well, and I know Aaron and I were talking about this before we started Unscripted, and I'm sure, and you're clearly over the hurdle. You're sitting in your brewery. You guys are wildly successful. At what point do you think, do we just become the next microbrewery? Like what point of oversaturated for the marketplace did you struggle
Yeah.
with? Should I do this? Am I going to get to this island and burn my boats? And did you wrestle with that? And did Megan say you might be nuts, or was she all in once you won Worthy?
She was all in. She was all in from day one. She really was. She always has been. It was always just kind of on me. She was always pushing me because I'm such a. If you know me, or if you spend any time with me, you'll know that I'm not a downer. I'm just like, I suck at all this. You know, this is the worst. Why are we even open? We're gonna close tomorrow. You know, so
Nobody's gonna come.
yeah, totally. Yeah,
Nobody
I
likes
don't know.
you.
Yeah. Opening weekend, I'm like, I don't know if anybody's gonna come. And they're like, hey, Mark, go look outside. I'm like, oh, I'm like throwing up in my hand. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, she was down since day one, and yeah, I mean, I guess it is the thing in oversaturation for sure, but ultimately the thing, like you mentioned, like the wrestling on the patio and all these cool things, like stuff like that, and having great beer, I think are ultimately the winning combo of being able to kind of set yourself apart in an oversaturation market, sure, because
find your tribe, right?
Right. Yeah.
There's a brewery, I don't know, like 5 miles away from us right here, like, you know, and then just do a radius. There's breweries all around us, but I mean, the one good thing too about the brewing industry is that everybody's kind of in it together. There's no real, like, we're not like competing against each other. We're all trying to kind of help each other out when it comes to certain things too.
There's enough business for everyone. I mean, like, as human beings, like there's enough food on this planet to feed everyone. We just need to figure out how to dispense it, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's enough. We live in a truly abundant world, so yeah.
And you know, and it's like you try to create a great you know, spot for everybody, and you try to set yourself apart with your tap room and try to make it not so cookie cutter, and you know, that's kind of the stuff that I think will set you apart, and that's what we always kind of strive for, is to kind of just, we're not like, I mean, Timmy, you know me forever, like I'm not, you know, like a straightforward kind of guy. I've always been kind of off-centered, I guess is a good word. I don't know. And I'm able to kind of put that towards this, which is great. It's not, I don't know, like I've never wanted to just do the normal thing. I want it to be different. I want it to be maybe wild, maybe a little crazy. People be like, what the hell are they doing now? Like, what are they doing? Are you crazy?
That's what's so intriguing. When I saw the patio get finished, and I have yet to be there since you've opened the restaurant side. Last time I was there, it was some pallets to the left, and I think I got a shirt for Janina, a snapback for me, a glass, and as much beer that was left, right?
Yeah, we were selling cans out of the front lobby.
Yes,
like where you walk in now.
You gave me a tour of where the tasting room was going to be and all that stuff.
Right.
And I see online the food truck stuff you've done on the patio, the wrestling, and I'm probably wrong. Correct me. Have you had a band yet? Because that's like you created this canvas where you can have all the things you love sort of splash against that.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
So you have done bands. Okay.
Yep. Yeah. No, we had music in the tap. That was another thing that I was very adamant about is having. You
just got to hire a better guitar tech. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't hire yourself.
Do not let me set up your equipment.
Their guitars sound awful. It's all Mark's fault.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Luckily, everybody that we book knows how to do all that stuff themselves. But yeah, it's funny that was the one like moment, and I still remember it to this day. Like I think it was maybe the second weekend we were open in the tap room, like full tap room pours and all that stuff, and we had the first band on a Saturday, and I just remember being like, "Holy shit!" Yeah. Tap room's open. People are drinking my beer. there's a band playing right now
At your place. Yeah.
at my place.
Yep.
Fucking did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're good. We're good.
Like it was I had to like, and my wife, she'll tell you too, like I kind of like snuck off to a corner and she's like, you crying?
Okay? Yeah.
You crying? I'm like, it's just it's a little emotional. Like it's crazy to think that 2 years prior to that, I was brewing 5 gallons of beer on my back deck.
Yeah.
And now this tap room is full.
Yep.
There's a band playing and everybody's drinking the beer. Like,
Yeah. Well, and that's
Amazing.
like the coolest
Wow.
part of that is people were at your place that day that you've never met, that will
Right.
leave and rave about the opportunity they had to hang with their friends at this cool
Insane.
place.
yeah.
You know, our friend Mark, it's just no, it's called 2 weeks notice. There was a midget in the corner. They were they were wrestling, drinking. There was a band playing. The guitar sound awful, but
Yeah.
we'll get to that later.
Yeah.
All this stuff happening, and
Yeah.
and they're not there for you. They're there for the product you created.
It's crazy. It's absolutely wild. Yeah, the brand. You know what I
Which-
mean? It's like,
Which begs the question: were you good in science? Like, when does the Mad Chemist come out?
Well, that's what I was just gonna ask. Like,
And how are you curating these flavors? And
Yeah.
Right.
we also
I
want
didn't
you to
wanna
talk
get,
about the
like-
artwork too. The artwork on the labels
Right.
is
Yeah,
second to
yeah,
none. I love it.
I didn't want to get too like brewing technically, but which I will.
Well, I've got
It's
my
fun.
notebook. Yes. hang on.
Everybody will just glaze over.
glaze over,
But,
like nerd out
yeah.
on
Yeah.
beer history.
so yeah, I absolutely
And science.
almost failed out of high school because of chemistry.
Excellent.
Here we are.
It's full circle. That's full circle, right? Like
It's
that's
all
like,
about the teacher, man. It's all
when
about
am I ever going to use this chemistry stuff? I don't need this junk. When am I going to use this? Oh, every day.
every
day.
single day.
If
Yeah.
we could
Every
just
day.
get him to figure out the lights at his lab, would be fine. Yeah.
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 Now I'm like, oh, how many parts per million was that? And people are
Well,
like, what?
because it sounds like it sounds like. And what's your partner's name, by the way?
Derek Upson.
Yeah. So Derek sounds like he's more maybe back office with the books. That's more of his.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
business.
he obviously
Yeah.
understands the science, but I feel like you're probably driving that portion of the business. Yes? No? Maybe?
Yeah, yeah. He doesn't really step foot in the brew house. It's all that's my whole gig. Like that's the whole part of the partnership, you know. So yeah, it was just I don't know, man. It's brewing. It's you start off like you get a kit, and then the more you start reading,
Yeah.
and the more you look into this whole science of it. There's a whole thing with water chemistry and. Which is wild. Like my parents, same thing. They're like, "What?
Yeah. Right.
You hated school, and now you're brewing. Now you're using chemistry all the time."
Right.
You know. But I think it's like you just have to find that niche that like connects with you, and then that's when you just dive in, and that's what I did with it. And yeah, it's a lot. The cool thing about the best part about brewing is that it's art and science meeting at
That's-
one.
What I kept thinking was like the creative aspect of it. And like if we actually taught in schools, like brewing, like would kids be more into chemistry?
Right.
Like not just the
Yeah.
beer aspect, but the creative part of it,
Yeah, for sure.
right?
Yeah,
It-
absolutely.
Do you have like fails? Do you like try beer flavors that are just disgusting? Like what?
Yeah.
Like how
I mean,
creative are you about that? Yeah.
especially at first, yeah, like when I was
Pumpkin
homebrewing a lot.
spice.
Yeah.
Pumpkin. Yeah.
Hold on, guys.
And the lights went out.
I said pumpkin spice, and the lights went out. Yeah.
Yeah.
What I'm saying, that's shit's the worst. Anyway, no, I don't do any pumpkin beers here, bro. No, I definitely dumped a few batches when I was homebrewing for sure.
Sure.
I have only dumped like 3 or 4 batches here. One was when I was brand new dealing with tanks that I didn't know how to clean.
Yeah.
The beer that I put in it tasted definitely infected.
Oh.
And then yeah, never
Thank
touched
you for not
anybody's lips.
serving that.
I mean, with
Yeah,
COVID
no,
now,
no.
everybody's immune system's way up, though. They'll love it. It's fine.
Maybe
I
it's
was
the
one of
cure, actually. Maybe
I
you should,
started
you know,
COVID. guys.
Yeah.
maybe you're.
What do you call this one? Chillin' penicillin. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there was like 2 or 3 beers that I just didn't like think were up to snuff. Like that's ultimately the thing is, you can put mediocre beers out, beers that are like, meh, like, yeah, I guess it's passable. But when you put stuff out like that, I almost think it can hurt you more in the long run when you're not putting your best foot forward.
Sure.
Because there's beers, and even now to this day, there's still beers that I'll like drink from the tank and be like, this beer sucks. And everybody's like, what are you talking about? Like, this beer's awesome. And, so there's also a fine line of like being really hard on yourself.
Yep.
Because in your brain, you're like, oh, I wanted this certain flavor profile, and it's not that, so it sucks. Yeah, but it doesn't. Like somebody else is like, I don't know, they don't know what the flavor profile you're looking for.
Yeah.
So if you put it out there, like, this is an amazing IPA, I'm like, oh, cool. Like, it's on tap, like 4 stars. I'm like, oh shit, okay, I guess we'll keep doing it. So.
Yeah.
But it didn't match like that vision, right? Like, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, oh yeah.
That's like the perfectionist of the creator.
Yeah, and I think you ultimately have to, be hard on yourself. You have to definitely try and put your best foot forward as far as that goes, because that's the product. So like that's what makes us money. And and especially now, like we were talking about, like the oversaturation, the Untapped and social media, and people post pictures of beers and tell you what they think and all this. Like beer drinkers are very, very smart now, and they there's so much beer out there, and they're drinking so much of it, and especially hoppy beers and IPAs and things like that. So people are very smart about it, and so you have to really. That's the stuff that's going to make or break a lot of these breweries. Is that the beer is got to be top number. It's got to be the best you can put out, because otherwise people are just going to crap on it, and next thing you know, you'll be closing up your doors and things like that. So it's to me, it's always been focus number 1 is the beer, and then everything else will fall in line. So, but yeah, I'm the hardest on my beers more than anybody, for sure. Yeah.
When COVID hits, like how does that directly affect you? I mean, obviously you guys most likely had to shut down. Were you able to even do door pickup for cans?
So the cool thing about that patio we were talking about, it actually has an alleyway that drives through it. So we did a drive-through.
Love it.
We did drive-through can sales, and we actually did very well. People loved it, to the point where when we're like, all right, like in May, we're like, we can finally open the tap room, guys, get ready. And people are like, what about the drive-through?
I just want to go home. I haven't showered in weeks. Yeah.
I'm like, that's our patio. Like, you can't drive through that anymore, guys. Like, So we did. So it did pretty well. And the cool thing about it was, so we were already thinking about putting the kitchen in.
Yeah.
And so when that hit, the timing was perfect. So we started build out on the kitchen, and thank God we did, because we wouldn't have been able to open as early once all the restrictions came out. Like they allowed food trucks, but eventually they were like, no, you need not, especially now when somebody walks through that door, our servers are like, you know the deal with the food, right? And they're like, what? They're like, you have to order food first, and then we'll get you your beers. So luckily that's all part of Governor Baker's, restrictions. So luckily we're very fortunate we have put that kitchen in, because otherwise we'd just be doing drive-through. And I have some friends that are in the industry that have smaller tap rooms, and they're just doing to-go cans. And I don't know how long they can sustain it.
Right.
So it's tough. It's like it's a scary time for sure for breweries. And like, there's definitely days where I'm like, should we just go back to drive-through? Like, because not everybody's coming back out to tap rooms yet.
Right.
Yeah.
We're like over and above as far as like sanitation and our servers. Like we have flags for people to put up when they want a beer, and our servers go out and get the order and go back in and come back out. We wipe everything down. And we go above and beyond. Like, everybody has to be seated first. You can't just walk in and grab a seat. So we go above and beyond what we have to do, but people are still nervous, I'm sure. I mean, I get it. But I'm not like mad about it. It's just like, it's a scary time because there's a lot of breweries that probably aren't going to last through this. And, I think we will.
Yeah.
It's just like, I don't know how long it's going to be. No, that's the thing is nobody knows. Like everybody talked to in the industry, everybody in the industry is like, if we had a compass for this, we would share it with everybody, but nobody knows what the hell's going on yet.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's day by day at this point,
Yeah. I think that's true for most businesses, but specifically in the food and beverage industry,
for sure.
You're really feeling it because, I have some friends that owned restaurants as well. And when can they fill their rooms to capacity, right? Just wanting to have, you're working at half staff, right?
Yep.
Or half,
Yeah, we can't. That's the thing is like, so we got all. Yeah, and the other thing is the money that has to be put forward by a lot of these places to be COVID,
friendly,
safe. Right. Like we got all brand new tables for the tap room, like because we originally just had like picnic tables, which you can't really clean and sanitize. So we got brand new like tables that have lacquer on them so we can wipe them down, everything like that. So you're talking, thousands of dollars being put forward to be able to just open your doors, and then you can't even be at full capacity because everybody has to be seated, right? So you can only seat so many people. So when we look at sales, we're like, okay, well, good weekend, but definitely, then you compare it to last year at the same time period, and you're like, oh, well, we're definitely not where we were last year, but
it's definitely different.
Reasons. Yeah, for obvious reasons, right? So you got to kind of the biggest word I use a lot now is pivot. Like you're pivoting constantly, trying to figure out ways to make money and make sure your staff is making money and just trying to fill the place. So, as much as you can and turn tables over as fast as you can to make as much money, but it's every day is a challenge for sure.
It's got to be a huge source of pride for you and anxiety. I was going to ask you, what is your current employee headcount and how much did that change?
It didn't change. Luckily we didn't. So we got the PPE and we were able to keep staff on and pay them through COVID. And then obviously they all stayed on. So so as far as taproom staff, we have five employees in the tap room who rotate pretty much so we're open Wednesday through Sunday. There's like Wednesday, for example, today we just have one person on. It's not really super busy. The only day we have two people on is Friday and Saturday because it's busier. But and then I have an assistant that works with me in the brew house. He stayed on. And then we have 3 that work in packaging, so the canning line that can. So it's a decent amount. It's still, and they're part-time. They're not full-time. I'm the only full-time employee. But even I don't take payment all the time because I'm like, well, that's part of being an owner, I guess.
Next time the lights go off, if you want to leave them off, we completely understand,
Yeah, it's all right.
Everybody's going to do their part. Hey, got to ask you about the art on the cans. Who's behind that? I don't know if you have a can there. Obviously we'll point people in direction of your website so they can get us a can.
We're staring at an
This is twofold,
chair.
by the way. He's also triggering the lights to stay on for another 10 minutes.
We got another 10 minutes, guys. We're good. So I don't know if you can see it.
Move it. There you go. All right. What's Casual Friday? Yes.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's me at a table. No, I'm just kidding. So that's.
It is though.
That's you and at your old job.
Your old job.
So that's basically like a caricature of Eric, who is my can artist. Eric Clark. He is. I met him because of my wife and my brother-in-law. They knew him way back in the day, and he lives. I don't know where he lives, but he's a teacher. He's an art teacher. Go figure.
Yeah.
His kid's art in Connecticut, and we were talking about before we even opened this place. We're like, all right, let's we definitely want a canned beer. we want our labels to stand out, right? Be weird and crazy. And my brother-in-law was like, dude, you gotta check out this dude, Eric Clark. He's amazing. He's done like posters for my dirt bike races and shit. I'm like, okay, cool, yeah.
Yep.
Get in contact with him. He comes to the brewery, brings his portfolio, and I'm like, dude.
Done. Yeah.
Like, don't
nice.
even see anything else.
You didn't even have to like go hunting.
No. And he's awesome. Like he's so like, I'll just be like, hey dude, here's a name of a beer that we're doing.
Yeah.
And he's like, you got any idea what you're thinking for a label? I'm like, not really. Like, go for it, And he'll be like, just come back with like the first draft. I'm like, perfect. He nails it every time. Like he doesn't. Very rarely I'm like, nah, dude, this isn't gonna work.
Is he responsible for the logo too? The company logo?
Logo was kind of it was like a joint effort between me and actually Steph, my old guitar player from one of my bands, who I was still playing music actually when I first like really started doing 2 Weeks Notice.
Sure.
I was like, I think it should be like a symbol or like a stamp. Like it should be a stamp or something like that sticks out. And obviously it was 2 weeks. So she's like, we're like, what about like a Roman numeral 2? And then she took the 2 and then put the hops, and then it just kind of
fell into place.
There.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
how many different beers right now?
We got 12 beers on tap right now.
Wow.
But cans, shit, they rotate. I mean,
a bunch.
I do a lot, yeah.
You don't even know. This is a very organized operation you've got going on, Mark.
Oh, my God. I'm an idiot.
Who's in charge?
I've got a lot of beer, and it's like a bunch of different flavors.
We're so like,
that's a lot of untuned guitars. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, we're freelance here. Like we do a lot of like and it's a lot of like, I don't know, spitballing with like my assistant. We'll be like, we should do a beer for 4th of July, and we'll call it America, and we'll like.
Yeah, which you did, yeah.
Which we did. Like it's like stuff like that. Yeah. So and then then I'll go to the can artist and be like, here's what we're thinking, and then it's like a one-off beer, and so I don't know, man. It's like it's always we have like the core like 5 or 6 beers that are like core beers that get brewed pretty often.
Yeah.
And then there's like
thematically, those are very office based. Have you tried restarting it?
Yeah. Casual Friday, Fake Saturday. Well, that's not really the office name, but yeah, Resignation.
Yep.
What else? I don't know. Yeah, there's a few of them. Performance Review.
Yes.
That's a good one.
Yeah, it's so good.
Severance Package is our sour. We got a lot of stuff going on. So,
what's your favorite? And I know this is like asking a father who's his favorite child.
It is. It really is.
Which one's your favorite? We won't tell.
So I love it. It always comes down to the brew day and like how shitty it is. Fake Saturday is a session that I love brewing because it's a wicked easy beer to brew, and I just love the beer itself. It's like my baby.
Yeah.
Resignation is always like the one that kind of is special to me because it's the one that won the homebrew contest and things like that. So, it's, I don't know, but Fake Saturday is like my favorite to drink. Resignation is the one that like I feel the proudest of, for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it launched you guys, right?
It did. It's the one that like really launched us. Yeah, for sure.
That's awesome. So as we let you go, thank you so much. I appreciate you resetting your lights a few times. Give us the straight dope on like what's coming up for you guys insofar as events that you can have. Is there something on the calendar we should know about?
We're doing
that. What are the hours?
Yeah, we're getting back to some music once a week. Oh crap! Hold on. We're getting back to music.
That's the band calling.
Yeah. Yep. Music once a week, and then no, we're not really doing. We're just kind of forging ahead and doing what we can. And then we're Wednesday. Wednesday is 4 to 8. Wednesday, Thursday, 4 to 8. Friday is 4 to 9. Saturday is 1 to 9, and Sunday 1 to 5.
So if we're down there for Sunday, there is it a light food so you don't get arrested by the governor, or is it?
Correct.
Okay. So it's passable food, passable plates, beer on tap, and I can watch the Patriots if I want to.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yep. Yeah, so it's yeah, we have smaller stuff like, $4 plates. So you don't have to that's what we were like, let's just do something easy enough where somebody could just like, I don't know, get like a bowl of chili for $3 or whatever, so they can just drink some beers. Because some people, that's what we were worried about, is people being like,
they're politely ordering food to get their beer.
Yeah, I was so worried about people like, you shit me, I'm gonna order food, but everybody's actually.
I only want to come in for the beer.
Yeah, everybody surprisingly has been cool about it. So,
awesome. Dude, that place is huge.
Yeah, we're in the brew room right now, man. Here we go.
That is unbelievable. Oh, there's somebody roaming about.
That's all the chemistry.
Yeah,
that's all the chemistry right there.
This is the fermenter. I just filled this guy today.
That's where you were. Okay. Unbelievable.
Yeah, so like every bored high school student in chemistry should just check out home brewing, and like we could solve the dropout problem.
Yeah, man. You could be a brewer.
If they rename chemistry and physics to weed and microbrew, they'd be like, I'm in.
Yeah, I would have done it. I would have done it day one. I didn't do it though.
Mark Avery, thank you so much for joining us. 2 weeks notice brewing. We're going to put the links in the description. Please swing by West Springfield, Massachusetts. A phenomenal operation, great beer and food and wrestling and multitudes of untuned guitars.
Yeah.
Tip your server and ask for Mark on the way out.
And Mark.
Thank you, brother. Have a great day.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
See you guys.
See ya.